Hello everyone, in this video I would like to tell about Shaman tank. There is a stereotype that there are only 3 types of tanks in the Burning Crusade: Tank Warrior, Tank Paladin and Tank Druid. I would like to tell and show how a Shaman can tank, what abilities he has, what he can and what he cannot do as a tank, what talents he needs, what gear, enchants, etc. So I would like to completely reveal this topic. I tanked as a shaman many dungeons of Azeroth and almost all dungeons of Outlands. Tanked means passed on the same level as the last boss of the dungeon, so I passed Hellfire Ramparts on 62nd level, Blood Furnace on 63rd level, Slave Pens on 64th level, etc. Well, I say that it is difficult to tank as a shaman. It is kind of challenge for your shaman if he can or cannot. You must have all very tuned and balanced gear, talents, consumables. It is very hard process on a gathering group stage, because the majority of people are distrustful of shaman tank. If you fail in your tanking one time, you may not have second chance to pass a dungeon. So neither you nor your group should make mistakes. Any vibe can lead to the breakup of the group, and if you decide to tank as a shaman, you must not fail anyone. Also take care about your internet connection, working patterns, make sure no one distracts you. Of course you cannot allow yourself to be AFK, and also you must do everything swiftly. You will pass a dungeon longer than Tank Warrior, Tank Paladin and Tank Druid, so do your best and do swiftly, but first things first. In this chapter I would like to tell about gear, enchants, gems and what stats must be improved first of all. At first glance it may seem that a shaman is inferior in terms of defense to other classes, and as a result an ability to hold damage from monsters and bosses. But is that true? He wears the same rings, the same trinkets, the same necklaces, and most importantly he wears the same shield as a tank warrior and a tank paladin, with same armor and same stats. Yes, shaman wears mail armor and it is inferior to plate armor, but is it an obstacle to tanking process? Mail armor is inferior to plate armor approximately by 78%. So plate helmet has 78% more armor value than mail helmet. Plate breastplate has 78% more armor value than mail breastplate, etc. 78% is approximately 15% of physical damage absorption, and it is much, so you must improve your gear somehow. It means improve your items as much as possible. If you get good leggings with gem sockets, instantly insert gems and make enchant on it. If you get good breastplate, make enchant on it. Well, next it is better to divide gear on 2 parts. Gear before 70 level and gear on 70 level. Alright, before 70 level shaman needs most of all armor and agility. The more armor value, the more damage can hold shaman, and the more probability that your shaman won't die from one or another boss or pack of mobs, so put on the best items. The sources can be dungeons, craft, or items from auction house. I emphasize the word best. The more mail items you have, the better is your tanking. The second most important parameter after armor value is agility. The chance of dodge depends on agility. Accordingly, the more your shaman dodges, the less damage he gets and the easier it will be for your healer. Agility is also a crit chance. The more your crit chance, the more damage you deal and the more aggro you generate. And also as a shaman, you have ability Flurry that increases attack speed by 30% after dealing melee critical strike. If you don't generate enough aggro and accordingly don't hold mobs and much worse bosses on you and they will run away, they can begin to bite members of your party, and this is not good because they can bite them to death. And in this case they will blame tank. Shaman tank must have items with agility as much as possible. The more agility and dodge has your shaman, the better. Here and further it is appropriate to say about the difference of the shaman tank from other tanks. It is very high dodge. When I started to tank on 70 level, I had dodge with Grace of Air totem more than 25%. 25% is actually every fourth hit goes by, and sometimes several blows in a row go past you. This is more than that of a warrior and a paladin. The next on the list is stamina. There should be stamina, but I would not say that there should be too much of it, although there should not be very little of it either. If items have stamina, it is good, if not, it's no problem. You never know if there is some kind of a lag or healer won't heal you in time and thus stamina will save you. But you don't need it too much. Don't forget that there is food buffs from priest, ram, scrolls, etc. In short, about stamina, there should be a certain amount of stamina for one or the other dungeon. Strength. Strength affects the damage inflicted on the enemy and as a result the aggro. Also it affects the amount of damage blocked. For 20 strength an additional 1 point of damage is blocked, and the main part comes from a shield value. Shaman does not have blocking abilities and he blocks seldom, so he does not need much strength. Spirit and Intellect. Intellect adds amount of mana to Shaman and increases critical chance of a spell, and this affects offensive spells of a Shaman. The more mana and the chance of crit, the more offensive abilities a Shaman will be able to cast during the fight, and the more aggro will be generated accordingly. In general, this mana should be enough for the whole fight, and it should be enough to drink not for long after the fight, and not after every pack of mobs. Otherwise you will be accused of slow speed of moving. If there is not enough mana to gain aggro, then something is wrong with your shaman. The regeneration rate of this very mana depends on the spirit in order to drink faster between fights. Both intellect and spirit indirectly affect tanking, but it is not right to discount them at all. If a priest can buff spirit on you, may he buff. It won't be superfluous for sure. If you have intellect and spirit scrolls with you, it's very good. The next are protection stats. Dodge. It should be as much as possible. That's the more the better from the word huge. Because low dodge will lead to monsters getting you and your heal will not cope. Parry. Parry can be learned by the appropriate talent in the enhancement branch. It adds you 5% of parry chance at once. Together with defense rating it can be more than 6%. Unfortunately, in addition, this talent reduces the applied aggro from melee attacks by 30%. Why Blizzard did this I don't know, but here because of this arises the question for the Shaman 10. To study parry or to abandon it. Yes, it is fair to say that 30% is a lot, it's really a lot, but a shaman gains aggro not only and so much from melee attacks. He gains it at the beginning of the fight with lightnings and shocks and continues to use shocks during the fight. Also he gains it by drinking healing and mana potions and using dynamites and grenades. 6% of parry is a lot and you need to think several times before abandoning. Personally, I passed all dungeons with parry and did not experience any very big problems with aggro. Yes, if you wear epics you can give up parry, but in normal situations it is better to have parry. Chance of block. The chance of block affects the number of blocks of a shaman during a fight, and the block itself, in addition to the usual damage reduction, removes crash attacks at 70 level. Therefore, the more the chance of block, in principle the better, but it is not necessary to increase chance of block very high. Defense rating and resilience. This is one of the main topics. Defense rating adds a little dodge, parry and block and reduces probability of enemy critical strike on you. Resilience reduces damage over time and drain mana effects, and also as a defense rating reduces critical strike chance of magical or physical damage. Before 70 level you won't really need defense rating and resilience, because your shaman can survive all crits from mobs and bosses. If there is defense rating and resilience, it's good, if not, it's fine. It's clear that the fewer crits, the better and easier it is. Personally, I had some amount of defense rating and resilience before 70 level. Okay, we looked at a shaman before 70 level, let's look at him at 70 level. At 70 level we just first of all need defense rating and resilience to remove crit chance on us completely. Against boss of 73rd level this chance is 5.6% and against boss of 72nd level it is 5.4%. Accordingly we need to add to basic 350 defense 140 defense or 343 defense rating, which this 140 defense can form. Or you can add 221 resilience, which better is up to you. I choose resilience. Why? Because there is much more return from it. To avoid 1% of crit you need 39.4 resilience while defense rating is need 61.18. Plus there is much more avail from items with the resilience because there is much more return from them. So benefit from resilience is clear. I created Google table to calculate critical chance on you. Just insert desired values and get final values for boss of 73rd level and for boss of 72nd level. For example, let's edit resilience. We edit resilience and we get final values. Also I created cells for dodge, parry and block and agility. The link is below, first in the list. Let's talk about items themselves. The question arises where to get items at 70 level. The best choice in my opinion is BG and items for honor points. Just play on BG and gain honor points. But you must fight long. But if you play Horde, not so long. Items on the list. Helmet. I wore Earthwardens Coif. This is the quest reward for killing the last boss in the Steam Vaults. It's very good helmet among blue items. Accordingly we insert gem in it which is called Thundering Skyfire Diamond. It periodically increases your attack speed by 15% for 6 seconds. Also you can insert Relentless Earthstorm Diamond which will add 12 agility and 3% more damage from critical strikes. Why not? Enchant for helmet we choose accordingly plus 16 defense rating and plus 17 dodge rating. But you need revered reputation with the Keepers of Time faction. The next is neck. Of course it is Necklace of the Deep from the auction house, which has 2 red slots for gems and you can add 2 plus 8 or plus 6 agility red gems. This is incredible necklace for 65 level, which will be very good at 70 level too. Shoulders. I took for honor points from battlegrounds. Accordingly we insert there 2 gems, red with agility and yellow with defense rating or resilience. Enchant we choose among what we have. If we have a reputation with Alders or Scryers, then we apply plus 10 to defense rating and plus 15 to dodge rating, or we apply plus 13 to defense rating, or plus 10 to stamina. Breastplate for honor points from BG, gems with agility, defense rating. Enchant we choose with plus 15 resilience. Bracers. As an option we can take epic from BG, by the way one of the best. and add the +8 resilience and apply stamina enchant. Also you can get something from dungeons, but from BG they are one of the best. Weapon. We can take dagger set carver from the auction house, just buy it and that's all. Or we can take for honor points from BG. They have almost the same stats. What is better is up to you. Enchant is Crusader. Or if your money allows you, apply Mongoose, but in my opinion it is not economically wise to apply Mongoose on blue item. Shield I recommend for honor points from BG. It has all what is needed, enough armor value, stamina, resilience and beautiful appearance. The majority of 70 level dungeons I passed with it. Enchant is +10 or +15 to block rating. Gloves for honor from BG. Apply on it enchant +2% to threat at once. This is your main enchant. Without this enchant even don't begin to tank. This is the only thing that differentiates you from DPSers and healers in terms of threat bonus. Girdle. Well, I used Girdle of Gale Force. This is boy item with 20 intellect and 32 agility. Of course we are interested in agility. Not bad girdle before you can get anything better. Leggings. I have scaled Greaves of Patience. They dropped from old Hillsborough Foothills and I have been wearing them from that time. Gems with agility, defense rating and stamina. Enchant is +30 stamina and +10 agility. Boots. I have Boots of the Outlander. Enchant is or +8 defense rating if you have luck of it, or +12 stamina, or +12 agility, but agility is too expensive option for such boots. Rings. Any rings with agility, armor value or stamina. Trinkets. Well, the first trinket that fits very well is a PvP trinket, which removes all out of control effects and adds 20 resilience, what isn't bad. Second trinket you can use any. There are many of them that can be used for tanking. For example, quest trinket, which adds 192 dodge rating for 10 seconds and has cooldown 1.5 minutes. Well, this is the end of description of the gear. In short, choose the best. Shaman tank must have full enchanted blue gear minimum. No green items considered, and personally it was not always comfortable for me to tank even in blue gear. I got shitload of damage even with gear for 70 level, so no green items can be considered. And finally I'd say about professions. For Shaman tank it is better to take engineering and herbalism. Engineering will give you dynamites, grenades and bombs, and they are necessary for aggro. Herbalism gives you possibility to use Fell Blossom, which when used will absorb from 750 to 1250 physical or magical damage. It will be very useful at a dangerous moment. If you know any other professions and items that can help in tanking, please write in the comments below, it will be interesting to read. Let's look at talents. Well, our main branch is enhancement, and the first talent in that branch is ancestral knowledge. It increases our mana by 5% at maximum level. Well, it is good talent, but it won't help us in tanking. The next talent is shield specialization. It increases our chance to block by 5% at maximum level. It is very good talent, we take it. The next talent is Guardian Totems. It improves our Stone Skin Totem by 20% at maximum level. Well, without that talent, this totem will reduce enemy damage by 40 3 points. And with that talent it will reduce the damage by 51 points. Well, it is too expensive to spend 2 talents for it, so we don't take it. The next talent is Thundering Strikes. Well, it increases our chance to get melee crit by 5%. It's very good talent. Our aggro depends on it, and we take it. The next talent is Improved Ghost Wolf. With that talent, with 2 talent points in it, we will turn out in our Ghost Wolf instantly. It is a very good talent in PvP, but it barely can help us in tanking, so to take it or not, decide yourself. Improved Lightning Shield. It increases damage from our Lightning Shield by 15%. It is very good talent. Our aggro depends on it, and we take it. Enhancing Totems. It increases effects of Strength of Earth Totem and Grace of Air Totems by 15%. It is very good talent. Without this talent, even don't begin to tank. Shamanistic Focus. When we get our critical strike with melee, this effect appears and it saves our mana by 60% when we cast our next shock spell. This talent is saving our mana greatly, and of course we take it. Anticipation. Well, at maximum level it increases our chance to dodge by 5%. Yes, it is. This is tank talent. And of course we take it. Next, our talent is Flurry. It increases our attack speed by 30% after we deal critical strike. It is very good talent. Our aggro directly depends on it. Of course we take it. The next talent is Toughness. It increases armor value from our items by 10%. Well, it is good talent. Armor, we need more armor value, and of course we take it. Improved weapon Totems. It increases the melee attack power of our Wind Fury by blah blah blah. We won't use Wind Fury in our tanking, and we don't take this talent. Spirit Weapons. This is our parry. This talent gives us chance to parry by 5% at once, but it reduces our threat generated by our melee attacks by 30%. Why Blizzard did this, I don't know, but the fact is fact. If you take this parry, you will lose aggro from melee attacks, but the aggro is generated not only with our melee attacks. It is also generated by shocks, lightnings, grenades, etc. Personally, I passed all dungeons with this talent, and I did not have any big problems with aggro, so I recommend you to take it. The next talent is Elemental Weapons. It increases damage of our Rockbiter weapon by 20%. It is very good talent because we every time we'll be using Rockbiter weapon. It is our main weapon enchant, and of course we take this talent. Mental Quickness. It increases our damage and healing, our spell damage and healing by an amount equal to 30% of our attack power. It is good addition to our aggro, and of course we take it. Weapon Mastery. It increases damage of our melee strikes by 10% at maximum level of this talent. Well, 5 points to spend 5 points to take this talent is very expensive, and we don't take it. Dual Wield Specialization. It increases hit chance when you use two weapons in your hands. It is DPS thing, and we don't take it. Dual wield. It allows you to use two weapons in your hands. Well, if you take that talent, nothing horrible will happen. You can put on two weapons in your hands and go as DPS in any dungeon. So I think we can spend one talent point for this talent, and you will be able to go as DPS too. The next talent is Storm Strike. It gives us very good strike when which gives debuff to the enemy. Debuff has the same name, it calls Storm Strike 2, and when the enemy has this debuff, our next nature damage dealt to the target is increased by 20%. It is very good debuff, it is very good buff for us because we will use lightning, chain lightning and earth shock. Of course we take it. The next our talent is Unleashed Rage. Well, it is this is DPS things, and we are not interested in it. Our next talent is Shamanistic Rage. Well, this is our main tank talent. Without this talent, even don't begin to tank, because it reduces all damage taken by 30%. And it has cooldown only 2 minutes. Also, it regenerates mana equal to 30% of our attack power. It lasts 15 seconds. Convection. It reduces mana cost of our shock lightning and chain lightning by 10% at maximum level. Well, we have two talents, Convection and Concussion, and we must take one of these. I prefer Convection. Concussion increases our damage from lightning, chain lightning and shock spells by 5% maximum level. Well, among these two I prefer Convection, as I said previously. Our next talent is Earth Grasp. It improves our Stone Claw totem, and I will say that I never used this Stone Claw totem in tanking. Why? Because if this Stone Claw totem stuns enemy at once, when as soon as I put on it, as soon as I set up it, then it will be interesting. But as it acts randomly, it is not interesting for tanking. Elemental Warding. This is very good talent for tanking. It reduces damage taken from fire, frost and nature spells, but by 10% at maximum level. Surely we take it. Next talent is Call of Flame. It increases our damage from fire totems by blah blah percent. In my opinion, it is better to spend 2 talent points and increase damage by 10%. Our next talent is Elemental Focus. When you crit with spell, this effect appears and it saves our mana. Our next offensive spells will be less by 40% of mana. 40% mana less it will cost. Reverberation. It is one of our main tank talents because it reduces the cooldown of our shock spells by 1 second at maximum level. Without this talent it will be 6 seconds and with this talent it will be 5 seconds. Our aggro directly depends on this talent. Call of Thunder, well, it is DPS talent, it increases critical chance of lightning bolt and chain lightning. The next talent is Improved Fire Totems. It reduces delay of our Fire Nova Totem. Well, I sometimes used Fire Nova Totem to increase DPS of the whole party, because DPS of the tank is DPS 2. I think we can spend 1 talent points. Eye of the Storm. Well, this is PvP things and PvP thing, and we don't take it. Next talent is Elemental Devastation. When we get crit from any spell, this effect appears and it increases our chance of our melee strike. Well, we will crit with our spell seldom, so it won't change picture of the fight significantly. So I think we can spend 1 talent point in it. Well, this is all description of our talents of the Shaman tank, and also I can add that there are 2 unspent talent points, and where to spend it is up to you. To start tanking for a Shaman tank, you first need to prepare. This means that we must necessarily have heal potions 10 pieces, mana potions 5 pieces, dynamites or grenades 20 pieces. If you don't have it, then it will be very difficult to tank and it will be uncomfortable. Also, if you are herbalist, you have to take with you fell blossoms. They will help a lot to survive. We also must take scrolls of protections, scrolls of stamina, intellect, spirit. Also will help plus 25 agility potion, and if it is not a pity, then 35 agility. But in principle it is possible without it. Also you can take with you Juju of 30 strength, Juju of 30 intellect, maybe Juju of 60 dodge rating. But these are very buffed buffs and it is possible to pass without them. Next we gather a group and we do it ourselves. No invites to outside groups are possible, because when they know that we are a Shaman tank, the result might be kicked from the group, because the majority of people are distrustful of a Shaman tank. Many people don't even know that a Shaman can tank. We gather group ourselves. Only those who want to go with a Shaman tank. When questions arise in the group, or is a Shaman able to tank, won't we wipe? You link your enchanted blue items in the group chat, and in this way you show that you have prepared. People must trust you, and if they trust you, you cannot fail them. So prepare please well. And accordingly, those who agree go with you, and those who don't leave the group. If a mage or a warlock wants to join our group, we ask them if they will use AoE spells. I mean Blizzard or Rain of Fire. If yes, we don't take them. If no, we invite them. These are the only two classes that need to be asked about this, especially a mage, because with a warlock things fare better if he uses Rain of Fire. You cannot tank with Blizzard, and even for tank warrior and tank druid it is hard. Okay, we prepared to a dungeon and gathered a group. Next we need to make sure that all our macroses work, especially macroses setting up skull and cross. All marks must be mandatory. If the group attacks randomly, we won't be able to tank. Macroses of skull and cross you see on the screen. Okay, we have made all preparations and have come to the dungeon. What is next? Next we announce, preferably with red yell, that all must attack first skull then cross and not otherwise. If there is AoE class in our group, we announce that AoE spells are not allowed. Why? Just not allowed, and that's all, without explanations. We are not a warrior, we are not a druid, we don't have taunt. And even for warrior and for druid to tank with AoE spells is shitty occupation. If necessary, repeat it again, because it happens that the first time it does not reach. Personally, I bound a macros on that phrase. You must set up the mark above target with one button. You must do it swiftly. One button skull, second button cross. If you delay and don't keep up with the speed of the group, and they will be waiting for you, then your group may get nervous with all the consequences. Okay, we have made all necessary preparations, have prepared to fight, and we see group of mobs. What is next? Next we set up the totems. Our first totem is Grace of Air totem. It will give us significant increase in agility and accordingly in dodge and crit. It must be mandatory. It might be replaced only with grounding totem. Our second totem is Stone Skin totem. We wear mail armor and we could use extra damage absorption. If the situation is close to be out of control, we set up Earthbind totem. It will slow down movement speed of all mobs. If the situation is under control, then we don't set up it. As an option, we can set up Strength of Earth totem. It will give us small increase of aggro. The third, our totem, is Healing Stream totem. It will slowly restore our health and help the healer. If group is good and is doing alright, you can set up mana sprint totem instead of healing. It will regenerate our mana and we will move faster in the dungeon. Okay, we have set up totems. Next we cast Lightning Shield, which will give us additional aggro. And if a mob has the Storm Strike debuff, the Lightning Shield will give us much more aggro. Next we consider the mobs. If they are melee mobs with good melee damage, we launch lightning into the first mob, and into the second we launch Chain Lightning, and we gain aggro of the whole group of mobs. If they are dangerous mobs, we throw grenade or dynamite to gain more aggro. If not dangerous, we don't throw and save not grenade but cooldown. Next we use Earth Shock or Frost Shock on the first mob, depending on the situation, but Earth Shock has 200% aggro bonus, but Frost Shock slows down the target, and what shock is better is up to you. On second mob we use Storm Strike, which generates no small aggro. If you gain good aggro, you can use Mana Shield in the fight instead of Lightning Shield, and you will have mana restored faster. And Restore of Mana with abilities or potion also generates aggro, but Mana Shield is better for mana restoring anyway. Also you can set up Searing Totem to increase damage on one mob, for example on a boss. Let's assume that the enemy has 2 casters and 2 melee mobs. In this case we mark casters with skull and cross, so we give them to our DPSers. And our shaman holds melee mobs and gains aggro from them. The next depends on the situation. If it is need to support DPSers, for example interrupt spellcast or simply help with DPS, we sometimes switch to the casters, and if all is okay, we keep tanking melee mobs while DPSers killing casters. Such approach not only improves the game but also makes it faster and saves your mana, and the most dangerous mobs don't switch to our healer. Well, that's actually all the tanking. Setting up 3 totems, if we want we set up more. Then using lightning shield, then lightning, chain lightning, shocks, storm strike, grenades, fell blossom. If something goes wrong, we set up earthbind totem instead of stone skin totem, thus slowing down all mobs. If there is low health, we use healing potions and Shamanistic Rage. In a good state of affairs, we use mana shield instead of lightning shield. We can summon earth elemental to help ourselves, and this is the only way to taunt a mob in the game. Also we can summon fire elemental, it helps us with damage, maybe it will take one of the mobs on itself. If needed we use heroism, and of course we must know all tactics of all bosses, so that it doesn't happen that you came to fight with the boss and don't know anything. That's actually all.
Grateful for your aid, champions.
The arcane powers that surround the blazing ruins of Arkandun have made urgent the summoning of Khadgar to the lands of the orcs.
The main advantage of a shaman tank is that it is interesting to play for him. It is interesting and hard to tank for him. It is even hard to gather a group and convince everybody to go with you. You never know how your run to the dungeon will end and whether your shaman cope or not. It is kind of advanced quest. You don't know what obstacles will arise and whether someone will leave your group or the group will pass everything to the end. And if someone breaks away, can you find a new person until others break away too? Personally, I was preparing for the dungeons well and I didn't have any big problems with it. Well, there were a couple of times when DPSers began to think of themselves as tanks, but after they died and after I repeated once again what to do, everything fell into place and all began to play properly. I mean, there are normal DPSers who, when they take aggro, stop DPS for a while, and there are those who, like under drugs, take aggro but still keep DPSing until the mob kill them. There were also a case when DPS and heal fell out over the loot in the group, and after that the DPS left the group and we were forced to look for a new one. Finally we found him, we came with other shaman to summon him, but near meeting stone was the horde. Horde kicked our asses, and after that we ran from the stone to the corpses and back. Finally that DPS flew himself on a mount from Shatrat, and that running from the corpses and back caught him too. Finally he got tired of it even before we entered the dungeon, and he broke away from the group too, but I invited him again and we entered the dungeon together. That running here and there was about 15 minutes, and we must pay tribute to the other members of the group who had been waiting for us all this time. The dungeon finally had been passed. Other than that, everything was smooth, and taking the opportunity I express my gratitude to those who were with me. Only one normal dungeon with my current level of blue gear stopped me. I realized that I cannot pass further. I made my apologies before the group and said so and so, but it was only once. The second advantage of a Shaman tank is ability Shamanistic Rage. It reduces physical and magical damage by 30% for 15 seconds. This is incredible ability. It is it that allows to tank. It can be activated when something goes wrong. Besides damage reduction, its value in its cooldown that lasts only 2 minutes. It's some kind of mini shield wall which you can use every 2 minutes, I mean on every second pack of mobs and exactly on every boss. Moreover, with every hit it gives a chance to replenish mana of your shaman, and this increases aggro too. Neither warrior nor paladin can boast of this. Also we can attribute heroism to the advantages as well as summoning of earth elemental, which will take on itself the target in the difficult moment. And you can also heal it. This is the only taunt the shaman has. Let's talk about disadvantages. The main disadvantage of the shaman tank is the lack of taunt. We can endure mail armor, but to endure lack of taunt is very hard. If someone takes aggro, the shaman cannot take the mob swiftly, he must gain aggro first. And then it all depends on the group. If it is smart and is doing alright, then the group handle the situation and moves further, and if it is doing not right, then the situation gets out of control. In this case there may be wipes as the individual members of the group and the entire group as a whole. Wipe of the entire group can lead to the case that the members of the group will say the shaman is full and that is it, and the group will break up, but it is better not to allow this. Also, mail armor can be classified as a disadvantage. The only plus of the mail armor is that among mail armor there are many items with agility, unlike tank warrior and paladin plate armor items, which are mostly with defense rating, and this is important for a shaman. Also, a shaman does not have threat bonuses, such as for example the defensive stance of a warrior. There is of course a 200% threat bonus of the earth shock, but it is not enough. Also, a shaman does not have blocking abilities. This means that all crash attacks are yours. Crashing blow is an attack that deals 150% damage of a normal attack. A level 71 mob has a 5% chance of such an attack, and level 72 mob has a 10% chance. And block exactly removes such type of attack, but both 10% and 5% you can survive. On the whole, the shaman tank with proper gear and skill is quite able to tank, that's actually all. The rule number 1 is never surrender, never at all. This concerns everything: gathering the group, tanking, dungeons, gathering gear, interaction, everything in general. I had a case when I assembled the group, and when they found out that I was a shaman tank, they all broke out of the group before we went to the dungeon. I spent another 40 minutes to assemble a new group, but I did it and I passed the dungeon. Rule number 2. You always assemble the group yourself, simultaneously proving that you are ready. This is a rare event when you get invited to outside group and all goes fine. Rule number 3. You must always be ready to the dungeon. This concerns everything, so that it doesn't happen that you don't have anything and forget something. Rule number 4. You must always have add-ons and macroses tuned to make it convenient to play. If it is inconvenient to play, if anything does not work, it can affect the tanking in the whole, with all the in-swing consequences. Rule number 5. You must always have the best gear, at least blue. No compromises, no procrastinations allowed, greens are not even an option. Rule number 6. Shaman tank is doing everything swiftly and leads the group. Rule number 7. One of the qualities of the shaman tank is patience. If someone in your group is doing something wrong, You must explain to him and tell him how to do right. Tell him so that it begins to work, and at the same time so that your member won't leave the group. Rule number 8, and completing this list, I say that tanking for a shaman is an achievement, especially when the shaman tank passes the dungeon. May others watch and wonder. My tanking began many months ago in the near 2021 year, on August 14. We went to the Scarlet Monastery and I joined as a healer, but later it turned out that our tank is weak and not long after that he left the group. We had to do something, and the members of the group did not find anything better than to offer to tank me, the shaman healer. I denied it for a long time, and I had no idea how to tank for a shaman, and never did it. More precisely, I roughly imagined how it happened for a shaman, and even I saw a couple of times how shamans tanked. But myself, I repeat, I never did this, and I didn't know what abilities had to be used and so on and so forth, and besides, what is even more fun, I had not all skills learned. But anyway, the choice is small, there is no tank and we could give up everything and leave or try to tank with Shaman as it comes. I began to tank and also I had DPS gear with me. I put on DPS gear and I started to get it. I began to tank first group of mobs, then second, and we passed to the boss with dogs. I also tanked up the boss but nearly died. The next is better. There was already some understanding of tanking and tactics, the group accustomed, and also I had macroses of skull and crossed, or I got them fast from somewhere, I don't remember, but in general things went fine. Although I must say the group was good in terms of adequacy. No one was getting ahead, no one was pulling mobs before the tank, etc. We were in the process of moving ahead step by step, and it was hard, but we reached the final boss in the Cathedral Quarter. And by the standards of a dungeon run, it was very long, because I was tanking one or two mobs. But the group was patient, and for this it had to be paid special thanks, and besides all understood that we did not have any other tank. We reached the last boss who spawns second boss, and as it turned out later, it turned out to be the most epic fight in my history of the dungeon. where I have ever been. It lasted almost 5 minutes. In that fight almost everything went into action. Heal potions, mana potions, scrolls, bandages, and besides this was the end of the dungeon, and almost everyone ran out of supplies. I was ran out of supplies for sure. We even traded in that fight. Gnome Warlock gave me one healing potion and one mana potion, tore it away from him. We had been fighting very long, and I in my leather armor, but finally fell one boss then another. And while we were fighting, one dungeon mob respawned, and after the bosses died, we were forced to fight with him too, and that was quite fun. But finally we killed him and the fight finally was over. It was hard play. Hardcore was also added by the fact that I was 37th level and the bosses were 40th. After Scarlet Monastery I tanked Rotherfin Downs. It was easier there because I had already some experience. I had been there as a shaman healer before and had played for the other characters in the dungeon. And by the way, I farmed daggers from last boss for AQ40. Everything was simple there, mobs, tanking, nothing special. I did not use potions at that time, scrolls either, but I had a bit better gear and knew how to tank. Tanked in leather armor. People were more surprised than expressed any other emotions. I justified those emotions and there were not many tanks either. After RFD there were Zul'Farrak, Uldaman and Maradon. Well, I can't say anything particularly distinctive about Zul'Farrak. I can only say that I really liked it in there, and I think I even tanked it a couple of times. Everything was fine, we fought with mobs, solved the quest, and everything went on as usual. I tanked Uldaman to tank and decided to go there. I tanked Monastery, Zul'Farrak, RFD, but not Uldaman, not right, and tanked it one time. I can't say anything remarkable, mobs like mobs. And after that was Maradon. That is where it was interesting. I was remembered and even got proposals to tank it with my shaman again. Well, I managed quests that time and got not much experience from dungeon runs like that. Well, I even did not aim to get there, but that was epic run. I easily beat Princess, I felt confident, but after that, when I was already playing in Outlands, I came up with an idea to get my tanking on video in full scale, and this is also a separate story, but it actually goes beyond this story. I was aiming for serious tanking, I mean 70th level dungeons. It was interesting to me and I was slowly coming to it. Why slow? Because when you play for healer you can just jump to a dungeon and that is it. And when you play for a shaman tank you must prepare, check all potions, all scrolls, etc. and gather a group by yourself. But let's return back to Azeroth. After Maradon it was long lull. I was leveling, periodically distracted by other things, for example craft, and went to dungeons in the enhancements pack. Everything went on as usual. When I reached level 51st, I wanted to play Eldrac Valley after a long break, but to my surprise I could not do it. And not only could not I play Eldrac, I could not play everywhere, neither VSG nor Arathi, because they were empty. At level 39 there were games, at level 49 they were too, but from levels 51 to 59 they were not. No help for it. I thought like this, I would gain 51st level and leisurely start to play on BG and earn honor, and at 60 level I would put on 60 epics and go to tank Outlands. But no such luck, I hardly reached level 58, then I got to Outlands and immediately went to dungeons. I went to dungeons shitload of times, I did not get out of them. I completed my first quest in Outlands at 61st level, and at 62nd level I started to play Battlegrounds and earn honor. And my thoughts were like this, as none of you playing from 51st to 59th levels and you did not give me the opportunity to play, now bear with me. And so I played without raising my 62nd level, played notably. I attracted 70 level enemies with my appearance, they tried to kill me, but against enhancement Shaman with Shamanistic Rage, Totems and Insta Ghost Wolf it was harder. That's how I played and helped with everything I could. On VSG I reported where the flag carrier was running and leaded fights on Arathi. I needed items at 62nd level specifically for tanking and for later life. And after many games I gained required amount of honor and took 60 level epics and enchanted them at once. Along with purchase of mount, I spent almost all money, but I did it. I knew that it would be hot in the field of a shaman in Outlands. And after that I at 62nd level went to tank Hellfire Ramparts. Why was it better to do it at 62nd? Because after that to tank up this dungeon would not be an achievement. Comfortable tanking turns out when the last boss is not above your level. If he is higher than you, then there will be glances, but more precisely there are glances, but there will be much more of them in that case. Glances increase chance of crit, etc. But if he is below your level, it would not be interesting. And the level of the last boss was exactly 62nd. And in my first dungeon it just so happened that I tanked him up and the group wasn't wiped. More precisely, there was one wipe when Warlock took aggro on the second boss, but this does not count because the group survived and I rest him. The beginning was made. The extreme was also aided by the fact that I nearly forgot to click on the video recording, and in that case all the efforts would go in vain. But that did not happen and the video was made. And to say so frankly, according to my own impressions, it was good tanking. The further the more. I got new levels and tanked new dungeons. At first I had been going to the dungeons as a healer with good blue gear, had been learning tactics, and then with all scrolls and potions I went there as a tank. I gathered groups myself, and how I did this is a separate topic, which I will tell in the next section of this chapter. The next was Blood Furnace, then Slave Pens, etc. Everything went fine, but the obstacle was Mana Tombs, where the first boss is very hard for its 66th level. I realized that it was not easy to kill it, and the simple mobs hit hard too, and I was preparing for this beforehand. I understood that I had to be one level above the last boss to pass the dungeon. Mana Tombs turned out to be very difficult. It was almost a wipe on the first boss, and many who went with me also foresaw wipe, and that we would not pass anywhere, but that did not happen and we held the attack. Second and third bosses were easier. On the third boss I probably first time felt what professional tanking is. The boss with his adds attacked furiously, but the Shaman tank withstood the attack. After Mana Tombs the trial was passed and everything was already going easier, maybe excluding Old Hillsborough Foothills, where it was hot and harsh. Every dungeon was a challenge, and then I took 70 level and what was most exciting, I felt at 70 level more confident than before it. I similarly went to battlegrounds and began to earn honor in the same way. Well, more precisely to finalize the remaining honor, because I had much honor from 62nd to 69th levels. I got final amount of honor, purchased required items and went to tank 70 level dungeons. I decided to tank several dungeons to record video of tanking at 70 level, and after that did things not linked with tanking. The point was that I played arena and of course I played as Eng, but I understood that in order to advance in arena I should to be a rester in order to attract to me good arena players. I wanted to respect Resta, but I could not do that while I was a tank. And in order to grow as a tank, for example to tank heroics and so on, you need a completely different gear, at least the shield from the first season of Arena. I healed tanks in heroics, don't worry, not in enhanced spec, and I must say that mobs there hit very hard. But here I tanked up 3 70 level dungeons and spec'd to Resta. That's all for now. What will happen next and whether I will tank heroics I don't know yet, but I can say that no 70 level dungeon will stop me. They are quite feasible for a shaman tank. Now let's talk about reaction of people. Before 60 level the reaction was mostly calm, because there were not many tanks. Everyone looked with surprise, periodically was asking questions. Oh, is a shaman able to tank? And as it turned out, yes. And when the last boss of any dungeon died, it became obvious that is able definitely. But after level 60th, when it was in Outlands, it was really difficult to gather a group. There were tanks, there were different interests, but there was not any understanding why it was necessary to go with a shaman tank. The reaction of people was very different, from surprise and admiration to irritation and indignation. And irritation and indignation mostly were before going to the dungeon. And the indignant ones mostly spoke me that the shaman could not tank. No, 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 he can't and that is it, because he can't and that is it. Here it is appropriate to insert such smile. And often the behavior of the indignant ones was like this. I was not upset. If anyone does not want to go along with the group, no problem. I will take another one. And it is even good, because this distrustful group of people who left group, it was good that they had been left it before we went to the dungeon. Because any problem, any slightest inaccuracy or small mistake from the shaman could lead to leaving from the group in the dungeon itself. And that would be a greater problem, because shaman cannot tank with unfilled group and need full set of DPSers. Well, and that was the way it went. In general, I gathered a group for a long time, then it was gathered, and if someone asked or was curious, oh, are you going to tank as a shaman? What do you think of it at all? I linked my items in the group chat, they looked at my items and answered, well, since you have such gear, all is okay. And accordingly, who wanted went with the group, who did not want left away. To explain and prove to an unaware person that a shaman can tank was useless, and for those who understood, mostly people in the group were who did not mind. Well, with them I ran. In the groups I met, I must say, good people, and mostly they played adequately. There were glitches, mistakes, there were single wipes of the members of the group, mostly because people attacked not first skull then cross, but randomly, and then exclaimed, oh, we wiped, and began to play adequately. There were DPSers like under drugs, when they took aggro but keep DPSing it all the way until a mob killed them. Very often the presence of a shaman tank caused surprise, like wow, shaman tank, never seen that before. And the most surprise and even honor was caused when the shaman tank passed the dungeon and no one wiped. That is where I got all sorts of delightful words. Only twice there was indifference. They said, well, we passed the dungeon, no one wiped. What's the problem? It's okay. Basically, I'm on my way with them, because they don't show off, they don't leave, they deal normal DPS and so on. Why not go? The first person said that he had already seen a shaman tank, said that he had seen 2 shaman tanks, me and another one. I also saw the shaman tank, even 2, but they were not tanks at high levels, they tanked first shaman stockades and second Scarlet Monastery. Personally, I have never seen a shaman who tanked 70th level dungeons. And when a tank tanks 70th level dungeons, we can talk about his tanking. That tells that he is prepared, something like that. And the second time a rather experienced person said me, I have seen a lot for last 17 years of playing. I tanked in the Wrath of the Lich King with Priest, dungeons with Priest, well dungeons, well with Priest. What's the problem? There were also people who really admired my behavior, like wow, Shaman tank, you are a real warrior, amazing. It's like Elon Musk started playing WoW, and so on. I enjoyed to hear such things about myself. Well, I was preparing to a dungeon and my efforts were not in vain. There were even those who were interested in my tanking and wanted to see the video that I'm making now. If they are online, I will send them the link. Next I leave the screenshots for you to look them yourselves what people think and write about Shaman tank. And you can write your own opinion in the comments after the video. And with that words I say goodbye to you. And once you have set something in mind, do it. Fear nothing and do it. Preliminary calculate everything and do it. That is it. Good luck.
Welcome to the world of Warcraft. I'm a medieval man. I'm a medieval man. What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? What do you want? What do you want? What do you want? Why do you keep touching me? I'm a medieval man.
We stand united.